I'd like to open up the regular village meeting for the Village of Shorewood on July 23rd in the year 2019. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Diane, roll call, please.
Mayor Chapman. Dan Anderson. Steve Brockman.
Here.
CeCe DeBold.
Here.
Barb Kirkland. Here. Tony Luciano.
Here.
And Dan Warren.
Here.
Okay, let the record show there's a quorum. The regular village business can be done tonight. We'll move on to citizens. Are there any citizens that wish to address the board? Ma'am?
Hi. Is this thing on?
Should be.
Okay.
Is there a light
So let me
there?
know if you can't hear me. Anyway, the reason I came tonight is I'd like to request some changes to the burn ordinance in the village. I live in a neighborhood that has a lot of mature trees, and the people around me are burning quite often, and it's a nuisance. I don't want a total ban necessarily, because I myself find myself having to burn things that come out of the trees occasionally. But we limit it to a few times a year. The burning, every day or several times a week gets to be very annoying to be outside and breathing it in, because they're not always just burning. Their stuff smolders for long periods of time, and especially if it's hot and the windows are open or you're out working in the yard, all that, constantly dealing with having to, be outside with the smoke. So if we could make some modifications to make it a little more fair to everybody, so I knew when I couldn't be outside or when I'd have to close up my windows or something like that. So maybe a couple of times a month, or, on certain days of the week, a couple times a month, or something like that, so that people know when they should stay out of the smoke in the neighborhood.
Doesn't our ordinance mirror the county's? And the county's ordinance does state you can't burn within 50 feet of a property line, you cannot burn within 50 feet of a structure, and you have to have a water source readily available.
Yeah, that's fine and dandy. Those yards are big, so they're usually plenty enough far away, but the winds will carry it.
No,
You know.
I understand. I just know there's a lot of properties that generally won't meet those requirements. So and again, it's got to be natural growth. It's got to be stuff that only grows on your property as well. So if you suspect somebody's burning construction materials, by all means, it's a violation of ordinance.
Yeah, I thought we,
But even
somebody
with
help
that,
me out here. We've got the anti-leaf burning
Yes,
ordinance,
I know.
which is strict. I mean,
Yeah.
and enforced. The only thing that we didn't want to do was for people to be able to have recreational fire, okay? Like, at night, they get the family around,
Well, that would be even another possibility, burning after dusk or something, so that, if one's not burning, then the other one's burning, and then the other one's burning. So, I mean, it could be several days a week that I'm
Yeah.
affected by smoke in the neighborhood.
I think what I was trying to say is I don't think we allow burning at all unless it's a recreational fire.
I believe you're right, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I have, up in my yard, when the grandkids show up, I mean,
Well,
we do
that's fine.
s'mores and,
You're probably not doing it like every day or,
Oh, no.
and then if you're
Too
not.
many Hershey bars for that, okay?
Right, but I don't think that's what's actually, in fact, I know that's not what's actually happening.
So you think they're burning to just destroy debris they don't want to carry to the curb?
Yard debris, among other things, yes.
Okay, all right.
And there's several of them around me that do it. And it's just getting to be a nuisance.
If
So
that's the case, maybe you'd like to help our authorities and call that in? I understand.
I'm hesitant to annoy my neighbors,
Yeah.
you know, and be petty. I don't want.
It's not. A person with asthma would not call that petty.
Well, I have COPD, so it's becoming a problem for me.
Absolutely. And that's why we put the law in place to begin with. Because leaves were keeping people all through the fall. They couldn't leave their house.
Right.
I mean, because that puts so much, it deposits so much sediment into the atmosphere that anywhere around it, if you've got lung problems, you're really going to have a problem.
Right.
We didn't want to get to the point where we outlawed all burning
Right. I agree.
for
Especially.
recreational sources. But if you look down there and there's nobody sitting with a Bud Light in their hand, I would say that's not recreational, that they're burning to get rid of it. And what I'll do, let me talk to the chief of police about it, okay? But to change the ordinance, I don't think is the answer. Unless we ban outside burning altogether, and I don't hear that from you.
No, I don't think that's necessarily fair for everybody. I mean, I don't think I should inconvenience others,
Right.
but I would like to know when I have to stay inside and so I can avoid it. So if there were certain times of the month or certain hours, like from dusk till whenever, you know, then
Yeah.
I do what I need to do and I close up. So that's all that I'm asking, is to make it a little more fair so that I'm not constantly exposed to someone around me burning.
Okay. We're gonna kind of discuss it amongst ourselves, and I'll talk to the police, see what their input has been on it, and we'll try to help you out.
Should I leave a contact with someone?
We can leave it with the
Okay,
clerk of the village.
okay.
and,
I appreciate your time. Thanks
Oh,
for
you're
the,
more than welcome.
thank you for the
Hesitate
consideration.
to call me.
Yeah.
If there's a
Pardon me?
problem, don't hesitate to call the PD if you feel there's a violation. I mean, again, anybody with the medical concern has, just as the mayor said, whether somebody has asthma or somebody has COPD, it's a nuisance to anybody.
If it's bothering me, I'm sure there's other people around me that it's bothering.
And unless somebody speaks up, we don't know about that. Nor does the police department, or nor does code enforcement. So nothing can be addressed unless we're told.
The ordinance was put into place, the entire ordinance, which we didn't have any when it came to outside burning, until one woman, such as yourself, came forward and begged for help. Okay? I don't mean
Actually,
you should
I
beg,
thought-
okay? What I'm saying is she just,
Asked,
she
yeah.
pleaded with us
Yes.
to help.
Yes.
And when the board at that time went home and thought about it, you got to think about putting yourself in your shoes, and it can't be pleasant. Okay, so let us work on this issue. Okay,
Yes, I appreciate your time.
all right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other citizens that wish to address the board? If there are none, I'm going to move on to the consent agenda, which tonight consists of all the meeting minutes have not gotten into your packet yet. The clerk needed a well-deserved vacation and took it, so I'm going to ask that we remove, when the motion to approve the consent is made, to table 1, 2, and 3, okay? I'll start out with number 4, approval of accounts payable in the amount of $704,625. Also, approval of a payment in the amount of $97,660 to T Corp Incorporated for work completed on the 500,000 gallon Black Road spheroid tank painting project. Number 6, approval of a payment in the amount of
Yes, thank you.
$57,844.23 to Illinois Department of Transportation for US Route 52 and River Road intersection improvements. Also, approval of a final payment in the amount of $10,000 to Connolly Excavating Company for the 2018 sanitary manhole rehabilitation. This is basin number 3. Number 8, approval of a payment in the amount of $27,420 to Core Maine for water meters. And finally, approval of a payment in the amount of $125,000 to Marking Specialist Corporation for 2019 road striping. Are there any items on the consent agenda that a trustee would like to remove for further review? Or are there any questions on tonight's consent?
Make the motion to pay the bills as amended, striking items 1, 2, 3.
Second.
Okay, Diane, roll call, please.
Luciano.
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
DeBold.
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
And Brockman.
Yes.
The consent agenda as amended has been approved. Moving on to reports and communications. Diane, any communications to the board?
Yes, Mayor, you have a proclamation.
I have a proclamation to read. Enjoyable proclamation. And, basically, I have one other report after we take care of that. It's our honor tonight to have one of our officers here who has been nationally recognized for her work, her dedicated work in the DARE program, the Dare to Say No Against Drugs program that she's done in all the public schools and in our Catholic schools in the area. I'd like to have Officer Juggler step forward,
Thank you.
and I'm doing that right? Close enough.
Jason said, it's about time for you to go up there now. Yeah, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunities that Shorewood's given me, from the chief, the mayor. I enjoy having you at the DARE graduations and addressing the students and letting them know that the commitment that they make is so important. So I just want to thank you. I wanted to bring my award, but we've been busy today. So I rushed over and
I heard you.
it's in my car. So thank you so much. I appreciate the recognition, and it's going to be the hardest year of my life not being in the schools as fall comes. So keep in mind and help me out.
I'll tell you. I'd love to read this proclamation for you,
Oh, thank
okay? And it's recognition of Officer Kimberly Ugler, DARE America Officer of the Year for the year 2019. And I got to say something before I get into this. That is so huge, because when you think about it, this is nationwide. And the DARE program is huge. I've seen it in other communities, and it's for you to be named the Officer of the Year in this program is a huge honor. And I'm sure you feel it, okay? So I'd like to read this proclamation. The Village of Shorewood has long enjoyed a successful DARE program in our local community. Interacting with our youth in school classrooms and throughout the village, providing guidance and knowledge to make informed, positive choices in order to lead safe and healthy lives. And whereas Officer Kim Jugler was selected as a DARE officer in 2001, and for the last 18 years has immersed ourselves in the assignment in every facet, becoming an indelible fixture in the lives of our youth and a beloved entity throughout the village. And whereas she was instrumental in expanding the program from 1 school to 4 public schools and 2 parochial elementary schools, as well as additional after-school instructions for families who wish for their children to receive this instruction not offered at their previous schools. And whereas Officer Jugler undertook a leadership role in the Illinois DARE Officer Association in 2006, holding every officer position on the board and maintaining a significant role as an active past president in the leadership structure, whereby she coached and mentored those who served on the board for several years. And whereas Officer Jugler and other officers of the Illinois DARE Officer Association identified a need for the instruction of new DARE officers in our state and worked tirelessly through many obstacles to organize and establish a DARE officer training program to the state of Illinois, a program that is in its 5th year and recognized as a highly effective and well-respected program throughout the national DARE community. Furthermore, Officer Jugler has been appointed the training coordinator of DARE training in the state of Illinois, something I didn't know. And whereas Officer Jugler, having been recognized by her supervisors and peers, both in the village and throughout the nation, submitted her name for consideration for the DARE America DARE Officer of the Year, for which he was selected and received an award at the DARE International Annual Training Conference in June of this year. Now, therefore, I, Richard Chapman, Mayor of the Village of Shorewood, do hereby recognize nearly 2 decades of exceptional effort and accomplishment, culminating in the presentation of a well-deserved national recognition award and acknowledge Officer Kim Jugler as the 2019 DARE Officer of the Year.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can I take your hand?
Thank you.
Now,
Don't forget the second half.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Officer Kim, congratulations.
Congratulations.
yeah. Chief? Now we get Luke, get a picture out front. If all the board members kind of come and get up in this area, we'll go down in the front. Hate to have to unhook you.
Good to be down here, I guess. Here, I'll just push the chair out.
Okay. You tell us when.
All right, ready?
No flash, right?
I only said one. if anybody's been to, like I have, to one of the classes that she does teach, and the way those kids in each and every one that I've been to love this officer of ours. And I go to the graduation, so it's the last day that they're gonna be there. And I've seen kids come up and give her hugs and cry that she's leaving. And when you make that kind of an effect on the little ones like that, she's done her job. She's done a tremendous job in that program. Okay, so at any rate, wish her a lot of luck and everything. If she's doing something else later on in life, I wish her all the best. So, and I know the board does. I know I speak for the entire board. Okay. The only report I have is Chris and the administrator and I, we attended a water, I guess it'd be, you could call it a beginning strategy meeting down in the city of Joliet. And nothing really came about it because we're so far out on our endeavor to get it. And so for us, it wasn't quite as important as the other communities that attended, because they're liable to be able to put together a consortium of communities right in that local area with Joliet to try to get a project initiated in a speedy fashion. So we're still going to stay involved and go to the meetings. We can't, this next one, they scheduled for the 30th, but that's our strategic planning meeting here at the village. So, and they're just gathering information now at how all the other communities around them feel about joining a group. And we'll see how that turns out. But it's going to take years to come down to that initial, exactly what they want to do. It took us quite a long time to get to a point where we knew exactly what we were going to do. And then a few months ago, we kind of wandered around a little bit on a piece of property, but hopefully we take care of that tonight. Any other comments on my report or Kim's ward? If not, I'm going to move on to tonight's order of business. Business item number 1, consideration for approval of a bid award to Kim Construction Company for the 2019 sanitary manhole rehabilitation. This is Basin 5. How we doing?
Good evening. Thanks for having me again. So this is for the next priority basin that we've been working in. As you remember, we did 9 flow monitoring basins. This is our second priority basin, which is basically the rehabilitation of 300 sanitary sewer manholes. This is approximately bound by Route 52 to the north, the DuPage River to the east, Manor Drive near Jacob Court to the south, and Cambridge Lane to the west. So we received 4 bids for the project, and the lowest bid was Kim Construction Company of Steger, Illinois. And so we've done numerous projects with them in the past. They've been in the business of rehabilitating manholes for approximately 30 years. They do good work and would do good work for the village.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions for Mr. Gray or Mr. Culata? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bid award to Kim Construction Company.
I'll make a motion to approve a bid award to Kim Construction Company for the 2019 sanitary manhole rehabilitation process.
Second.
Diane, roll call, please.
DeBold?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
Luciano?
Yes.
Kirkland?
Yes.
And Brockman?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
that's agenda item number 1. Stands approved. Moving on to number 2, consideration for approval of an ordinance directing and authorizing the disposal of surplus property by the village of Shorewood. This is up for a first read. Chief,
I'm sorry.
you're on board.
This one's really simple. Many years ago, the EMA had gotten a grant. Part of that grant was applied to making a communication system for EMA to work out of the Emergency Operations Center. It basically was a bunch of software coded by somebody onto 4 jump drives and a couple of old computers that came out of old squad cars. None of that stuff is any good. We don't need it because we installed the bidirectional antenna in the basement last year so that all of our Starcom radios work out of the basement. So the system's obsolete. It's a bunch of very old Panasonic computers that are basically boat anchors. So we'll take the hard drives out of them and wipe them, and then we'll get rid of them. And then the jump drives, I'll just give them to investigations. They can make use of them.
Okay,
Make the motion of authorize the disposal of surplus property for the village of Shorewood and waive the second read.
Second.
okay. Diane, roll call, please.
Anderson? Brockman?
Yes.
Kirkland?
Yes.
DeBold?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Luciano?
Yes.
Agenda item number 2 stands approved. Moving on to number 3, consideration for approval of a resolution authorizing the purchase and sale contract for vacant land on Black Road. Mr. Kulata.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight before you is a resolution for acquisition of a property which you are familiar with. This is property that could assist the village in terms of acquiring Lake Michigan water. And what this contract does is set forth a period of due diligence that the village will undertake to make sure this is indeed the most appropriate acquisition for us, for our particular need. So there's a period of time there that the village would be able to look into the property, have access to the property, and do all the necessary studies in order to make sure it is the appropriate fit. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have one. It's assumed that nothing will be farmed in 2020.
The likelihood is that if we were to acquire it, that we may not have a need to farm that particular
Okay.
10 acres.
All right. I didn't see anything in here addressing that.
Right, no, there's no agreement with the current owner regarding the farming into the future. It's currently planted right now, so there's an opportunity for them to possibly harvest if there isn't, if the site isn't disturbed as a part of our due diligence efforts. So it is possible that some of those crops, we would need to compensate the owner if we do need to get on the property and damage crops in a way that would make it.
We wouldn't need to get in there before next year, would we? Would we have to get in there this year?
Well, we would need to do some due diligence right now, which probably could do some damage to those crops. So it's possible that there won't be the full 10 acres that could be harvested later this year. If Chris, you want to add anything regarding that? No. What happens to the property, I guess, to further answer your question, if after we acquire it, in terms of whether it's going to be farmed, is something I think we can certainly talk about. But what's before you tonight doesn't address the next season. It's just the current season
All right,
that's
very
addressed.
good.
Jim, this is an unconditional sale, cash for property, no contingencies other than that.
No, there are terms in here which, it's part of the due diligence that I mentioned, you know, that allow us to determine whether this property is the appropriate fit for our needs. So there's a period, I believe,
120 days or something?
yes, approximately. We don't have to take that full period of time. However, we wanted to make sure, because we're going to bring in consultants to verify the appropriateness of the site.
So officially, when does the property turn over to us?
When we would close on it. Yeah. But we do have access between, after approval of this resolution and agreement, for a period of time to access the property to do the due diligence.
Everybody should take note of the confidentiality clause that's in this up until closing date. So prior to it closing, there's a confidentiality clause in there. The look I'm getting here from our attorney is
I believe it's in the agreement, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's already been publicly posted, the contract.
It is,
It's publicly posted,
yes.
yes. So I read the confidentiality provision, and it was to the extent allowed by law. And so obviously by law, if the village is going to be approving this contract, it has to be publicly available.
okay, all right. Okay,
So this doesn't officially mean we bought it then, until after the 120 days and we make sure everything is
Correct,
what we needed.
right. We would need to close on the
Officially bought
property.
it, but we can back out of it.
Yeah,
Right,
this
we're
is-
it's allowing us our due diligence to make sure it fits needs and whatnot.
This is an agreement to enter into a process by which we could purchase it,
Right.
but it is not the final closing and
Correct.
acquisition.
Right.
Make a motion for approval of a resolution authorizing the purchase and sale contract for vacant land on Black Road.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Kirkland? Yes. Brockman?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
DeVold?
Yes.
And Luciano?
Yes.
Okay, and item 3 stands approved. What I would request, and it's up to the board, I'd like to table number 4. I started to discuss it with Mr. Kulala last Thursday, I believe. And some other questions have come to my mind about it that I need to talk to staff members about, so. Unless you want to force it, I would ask for number 4 to be tabled. I need a motion for that.
If I could, Mayor, if we were to table and not take action on this tonight, there is a financial consequence of that.
Yeah.
Chris can probably speak to that, but we had preferred pricing that would expire at the end of this month.
If,
It's about a $9,000 expense.
yeah. well, I
Could we
thought-
table it
thought
and
was
talk,
seven.
we have a committee of a whole meeting, could we talk about it there? And then if we decide to vote on it, we could vote on it there? Is that an option that we have?
I defer to,
I mean, if there's some questions, I'd like to hear what the questions are too.
Since it's on the agenda for tonight, something that you could approve tonight, the committee of the whole.
So I would, if everyone's acceptable with
Yeah.
that, I would do that.
They're,
So the motion we make is to table it for this meeting.
yeah, I mean, the questions are to be brought more familiar with what this system is going to do. Okay,
Well, yeah, we'll all be interested in that, I'm sure.
well, okay.
Well, if we're going to table it to just approve it at the next meeting in 10 minutes, what's the point? Why can't we discuss it now then? I'm confused.
There's many questions that I
Well, can we discuss it now?
want to ask, okay? We can. I don't feel like asking the questions at a regular board meeting like this. I've got a few questions that I need to have answered. I've been involved in a system similar to this, and I want to know if it's going to give us the same type of situation. So go ahead, answer that question.
Answer, I don't know, ask.
Okay.
Whoever has to answer. Did you hear what he said?
Is it going to give me the same thing as the system that we ran into with Exxon? Okay, and if you want me to go through that entire system right now, we got about half hour, okay? The system consists of tracking devices, okay, that were put into the hands of all the operators and maintenance people. They were identified by a code number from that tracking device. They were supposed to be in a place at a certain time and scan their code. What we found out later on in life was that they got more involved in scanning their code than looking at their equipment. So we had some accidents that evolved out of that, okay? And we decided not to do it anymore, to let the people not have to constantly keep track of everything they were doing on a minute-to-minute basis, and let them be operators. I would like to know if anybody has talked to, is there any way to get this on a trial basis first before we make the obligation to pay for the system and to pay annually for the system? Has anybody seen this system in operation other than a video?
Well, I think staff has, certainly, and I think I'll start to try to address some of those questions you raised, and if, Chris, you want to jump in, please feel free. What we're acquiring is permission to use a cloud-based program. There is no tracking involved of individuals. What it is, it's a means for people, whether it's residents or staff, to enter information into the system that would allow us to perform certain tasks, fill a pothole, for example. It's a lot more robust than that, but there is no tracking of individuals whatsoever.
It does do the GPS location of the work that's being performed and the time that it's being completed.
Well, what I'm looking at, though, is somebody wants to sell you a system and then annually charge you for that, for the use of that. I think the annual charge is what, $17,000?
$17,000.
Okay. I mean, it's a substantial amount that if 5 years later it's not doing you any good. They said the deal on this one is why wouldn't they give us a test ride? That's what I'm asking.
There's a considerable, I've used these types of systems, maybe not quite as robust as this, but similar ones in other communities. There's a considerable amount of time that goes into actually getting a community on board and using something like this.
Yeah.
So both for the company as well as for the community, a lot of time and effort. So it's not very trial oriented because of that. It's very hard to sink an investment like that if you're a business, and then perhaps have the buyer of that service, back out. So it's really not feasible to do it in that way. I can tell you, these systems are very common even for communities that are much smaller than us. I've helped put similar systems in place there. But generally speaking, this system will allow our residents to more efficiently and effectively communicate with us when they have a concern. There's a light out, there's a pothole, things along those lines. And Chris can go into a lot more detail on this. But also it helps our internal processes, to get away from managing work orders with slips of paper and an Excel spreadsheet to being able to share information, throughout the organization. And to make sure that things are getting routed and addressed in a timely manner.
So I guess my question has been answered. You've been involved intimately in these systems before, and they work.
Yes, very effectively. And I think one of the things that is really great about this system is that it'll allow our residents, after we, let's say, fill a pothole, to take a survey and tell us how well we did filling that pothole. Okay, it's going to give us that instant feedback that I think is very good for us as an organization, and I think residents will also appreciate the fact that we're asking and we're concerned about doing the best job we can.
Well, the thing I kind of got a kick out of this, one, it's a budgeted item. It's under budget. You do create an accountability aspect. From the way it reads, you can identify when a crew is on a job. Again, you use a pothole, a street sign, whatever it may be, a problem at a park. At least if that problem's being addressed, whomever it comes back to, Mr. Dre at least can look at it. If a crew says they were there, it turns out they weren't there, well, maybe we have a problem within a personnel issue, but whereas we can go back and look at it, we have a timestamp that, yes, they were there. They did fix this problem. They can take care of it. Also, as you mentioned, I did read that in the report, there is a citizens portal, which I think it could be an added benefit for streetlights reporting. The only question I do have about that, though, is are we going to have to number the streetlights, though? I mean, how is this? That's the only question I kind of had about it. How would a citizen? But I think it's beneficial. It just gives everybody another means of notifying us, let alone there's a fire hydrant leaking or something else. It creates another means that the public can also help share that information back with us.
This would be my second run with this type of program. This is scaled definitely for this size community. The deployment that I left in my past employer was about 5 times this amount just on a redo. So the packages are always depending on how big the communities are. So this package is doing what you're saying. What we're looking at is this will back up a lot of the GIS data that we currently have. And I put in my memo, I asked Rudiger and Tonelli to look at all the bond work, all the effort that we've done every year, and it's about a $500,000 effort. You've got one of the best GIS systems in the area. People look at it all the time, and they really are appreciative of what we do. We've got a locator on site when he's not busy. He's collecting all the different assets that we have that we need to put in here. What this does is it takes that GIS layer that we already have. It's going to link up to every asset that we currently have in our system, from our parks, our water, our sewer, storm sewer. We added this year a sump pump line. We've got our roads. It's 12 different layers, I think, is what we have, and it's going to be bundled into this package. Jim used the pothole as a good example. The pothole was a job that I wanted to make sure that from the resident concern, when they come onto that website, they can say, I've got a pothole over here. And it's out in the middle of River Road, which obviously we know got paved, but I wanted to make sure that from that point to the repairing of the pothole and back to the resident was pretty easy. So what the Dude solution has is the guy will have his smartphone, and he'll be sitting there in the vehicle, and he'll be able to fill that pothole, push a button. It'll know where that location is. It'll close that work order and send that response to that homeowner, to the resident that was concerned. So it's a good, complete, total package on a job that we do all the time. We looked at some of the other modules, seeing if we can modify and utilize something different, but the modules that are here, some of the examples, we've got a very extensive tree inventory. So in addition to that, it comes with the parks. So we're able to track all the ground maintenance, all the trees. Same with the sewer, all the stuff, all the work that Joe Sullivan and his group have identified can be brought in here and actually worked on. So it's taking that asset. How many times have we gone to that manhole? How many times have we had to rot out the sewer by one of our businesses? So right now, we don't have good tracking of all that. So there's multiple definite benefits that I see that will help us get our department streamlined. And then on top of that, and even primarily, is having a good experience for the resident that can report that concern online and get the information back to them. And at the end resolve is, like Mr. DeVold said, and I think the mayor was saying, that there's a lot of information in here. We can get very micro, but we can get down to the nut and the bolt. Some of that's not probably practical, but you know, one of the things I mentioned in my memo, this will help us with the fleet. Also, I think I mentioned that you know, so it's just bringing some of those systems that we have independently, and at the end of it is how long does it take for that squad car when it comes in for a repair? The accountability aspect, we'll be able to see that and document some of that and be able to see maybe where we're deficient and need to look at for you know, correcting that situation.
Right, yeah, I kind of see it the same way as if it can kind of keep track of better, of this job should take an average a half hour, but it's taking an hour and a half. Why are we, there's gotta be it'll figure out some averages or something. We can, well, we know this is gonna be a half hour, so we still can go do this kind of stuff. I just think it's better tracking and, I don't wanna necessarily all accountability, but it's all accountability and tracking of what's being done and not done, rather than, hey, I need you to go over here, and you don't know anymore.
Trustee Warren, as you said, though, you know, you're about the accountability. It is with the pothole, it's good, and we're going to be able to take that and help identify how many potholes are on a road segment. That'll help us future plan. You know, and you're right. Why do those jobs take longer than we think it? It's definitely important.
Yeah.
This is, with this community, the citizen portal, there's another, I think it's actually a good benefit. You have park crews that are out on a daily basis, public works crews that are on the road on a daily basis. You know, one of the examples is, it was noted here in the report, citizen wants to make a report that there's all of a sudden a dead animal or something, or graffiti at a park. You have a park crew that could be 2 blocks away. If it's something that's being pushed through on a work order device, well, rather than guys getting back to the shop or their yard, whatever you guys refer to it for the end of the day, and trying to stumble through emails and work orders, paper tickets, guys could have said, I was a block away, I could have grabbed it. Or someone just reports a dead animal, whatever it may be. Well, heck, we're right down the street, we can swing through and get rid of that. So these are different little things to me. I think it's a benefit for our citizens. Things can be rectified quicker. You have a better accountability for that. It's a budgeted item. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
So when, if it was approved, when does it officially start, and when it officially up and running?
The deployment right now, it was 90 or 120 days is what they were looking at, trying to get us scheduled, but I didn't want to commit to anything until
So
we
does,
had this
so does the
discussion.
1 year start from the
Yes.
120 days? Or?
At the implementation date. So at the implementation, they'll come out, they'll be here for 3 days, teaching staff, bringing in all the documents that we have. We've already kind of showed them some data we have on our fleet system, so that we can make sure that some of that transitions fairly easily. That's one of the parts of the proposal, is a connector tool to allow us to communicate or connect any of our databases with their data. So that'll help with the implementation. And then it'd be working with our IT department on getting that online to make the portal. In the meantime, internally, if approved, we'll discuss some of the topics or
Like
some
any
of the content from the.
upgrades or anything that's needed is included in the yearly prices?
Right. One of the nice benefits I saw is that the user is unlimited, so we can have all staff. We've already kind of talked about, our police department utilizing the work order to, let us know what's wrong with the squad car. Right now, we use email and text, so some of that would be different, where they would go onto the portal and, put in their work order. So that's a benefit. I don't know if I answered your question. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I think it has advantages to it just by what you explained, but one part of it that I'd like to know how you're going to get the citizens to participate in
The portal?
I mean, it's great from the village standpoint, but how are we going to roll it out to educate people to use this now, rather than just having to see on the street and say, hey, there's something wrong over there?
Yeah, one of the screenshots I think I had were showing how you could utilize that on a mobile device, and the reporting is pretty smooth. What I did is I went to this community in California. I went on their website, and it was right on their front page, and we've been discussing that a little bit of maybe where that is. Right now, we have a concern box Once you open that up, it takes you to Public Works, email and the phone number, and then it takes to the building department, their email and phone number also, so that would be that way, and then the rollout would
Through
be,
the internet, the village website?
yeah, it'd be on the
to start
village
with?
website.
I'm sure we could roll it out through water bills and.
Yeah, no, I
think we have to have some type of
And if
way
I
to
correct,
roll
we've
it
also,
out.
yeah, we've done it, we can do, I'm sure we can implement it, something like
Cross-post.
that through, yeah.
Put it on a-
Social media
There's a
posts,
phone
and
message.
we're engaging a variety of different social media platforms
Yeah, so
now.
that
This,
people see
please
it, so
send
they
it,
know
go to
to use
this website. Plus, it's a year, so if it, I know it's 17, almost $18,000, but it's for a year, so if it doesn't work out, we don't have to renew it too. I don't know.
What does it renew at? It doesn't renew at the same price, does it?
Next year's price is set, and then after that, there's a year-over-year, which is 3 to 5% after
So, but I
that.
mean, next year's price is what?
I don't have the proposal in the packet, it's 17,000, it's a couple dollars more, not much, than what that is.
17,662.
And that includes all updates and everything to it?
It'll include all the updates, unlimited customer service. We get a new employee, they want to know how to use the system. You can get online with them, there's videos. They have 11,000 customers. I think they said they produced over 3.5 million work orders. I've talked to the village manager of Charleston, who basically was the advocate over there, and he had done a lot of the work himself. They put in a lot of their business, their whole village hall, so every closet, every light, everything, he was pretty specific on the building maintenance side. He's got a lot of his preventative maintenance on all of his vehicles, all of his filters. You know, Mr. Parthen in the back room there has a schedule on his phone. This software package has its own scheduler with reminder that will tell him, hey, we've got to change the filters in this building. So there's a little bit more, obviously, that I didn't have in the memo. I also talked to the Public Works Director for Western Springs, who's rolled that out recently also, and they have nothing bad to say about it. It works very well. It brings in all the data that he has had in different spots, bringing in his, you know, all his assets. Doesn't have as many layers of assets as we do, but
Do we have anybody local?
Charleston, Illinois, and then Western Springs are the two that I talked to already.
All right, I was thinking right around here.
No, the community I worked with, the last one was Cartograph, and it's a bigger package. Same kind of fit, though, of what its capability is.
Yeah, I will say, I want to, compliment Chris in the thoroughness in which he's, taken on this project, because you can see on the first page of the memo, there was 5 different ones out there that were looked at, and there's probably several others else out there.
Yeah.
But these are probably the most well-established, and I think we're getting the best bang for our buck with these services, or with this particular provider. So I think Chris did a very thorough job of making sure that this would be a wise investment.
The one thing to add on that, Mr. Claude, is that this is all unlimited storage. One of the things we've been working really hard on is every time we do a job, we try to make sure we're taking multiple photos, sometimes before, sometimes after. So that'll keep all that. They'll bring it into their software and they'll shrink it, but we'll have access to that data now, which right now we have in emails scattered out through several people's mailboxes throughout the internet, or the village servers.
If I got a leaning pole in Kipling, okay,
Yes, sir.
if I'm up to speed on this system, okay, I'm a resident of Kipling, I got a leaning pole I'm pissed off about. So I go onto the website, okay, or I call the mayor, okay.
I don't know that Kipling's a fair analogy, what you're trying to use. Those poles are owned by ComEd, they're not ours.
Well,
You're not giving a fair
but-
analogy here, though.
Well, it is a fair analogy because we took care of them the last time.
Because we contacted ComEd and really leaned on them to try to correct
They
a
didn't
problem
do
of
it.
theirs.
Yeah, they didn't do it.
But again,
They
you're
ended
using
up-
a scenario that doesn't necessarily apply, that it's our poles that we maintain.
Okay.
So
How about a caved-in sidewalk on 52?
All of-
which we thought was the state and turned out to be ours anyways, okay?
It's a great example to use that. If it's
Those,
a sidewalk that's ours, it's a great thing to address.
Any of those examples, one of the great things, like I mentioned earlier, you've got such a robust and awesome GIS. We have all of the streetlights in town. ComEd, Shorewood Glen, any of them. So that pole will be there. And if there's any work that is ever reported on that, the Jim Parthen in the morning will go out there and say, oh, I've got this report. It's a dot. He'll grab the asset. He'll relate the asset to it. Sidewalks, we don't have all of our sidewalks in our GIS, but this is an opportunity to make sure that we can start working towards that direction by, again, whatever asset, whatever concern gets brought in, we can relate it to a layer. So I think that's really one of the most impressive parts I saw with the software is how easy it was to relate them together. And then ultimately, maybe the response is that's not something in our area, it's a ComEd responsibility. The response will be, please call ComEd. We've already addressed it with them. We always call for the resident, but we always ask for them to also help by calling, when we have those situations. So it'll give us a good communication bi-directional both ways there.
Okay, I got my questions. I just wanted to get some answers up front. I'm usually always leery about technology that we haven't operated or haven't looked at and just talk to other people. And especially at an expense. Now, one more question. This facilitates everybody in the system having a smartphone, right?
It's not a system that requires a smartphone, no. You can use a desktop.
I thought that's what I heard.
Say if he's out in the field.
It's another means, yeah, but as Mr. Colada said,
If you're in the field, yeah, there's phones, but there's also laptops that are used sometimes in the field.
Right.
Yeah, but the users of it is staff for sure, but as well as the public. It could be, Tony, picking up a phone call in the office from a resident,
Yeah.
And she could enter that in.
But I mean, if one of our people run across something, they take a picture of it, send it in, is that correct?
Well, the benefit would be is we're going, if we were at a situation where we're fixing the pothole, but we found the streetlight a problem, the employee could grab that picture of that streetlight pole problem, say there's a problem, and put a work order in. There's definitely opportunities there. So there's an app for it that allows that. And again, when they're working, establishing the work order or closing it, it'll take the GPS of that device to record where they're located, if they have a device that is capable.
A smartphone.
Or tablet, yes.
All right.
There's no more-
Okay, it's up to the board,
well,
not me.
I'm gonna make the motion to make an approve, for the Village of Shore to approve an agreement with Dude Solutions for CMMS work order software for the amount of $17,662.33.
Second.
Okay, Diane, roll call, please.
Who's second?
I did.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Agenda item number 4 stands approved. Moving on to reports, trustee Warren, Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items here. Crack ceiling has been completed, which is good. Cardinal Drive, right? Cardinal Lane?
Place?
Place, thank you.
Place.
They did some ditch work there, that's completed. I think they have one or two more spots to do.
Couple more spots, yeah. And then we'll start doing some asphalt patching.
And then getting ready for the fest coming up here pretty soon. So there's going to be a major, extensive park cleanup going on. We're going to be painting and fixing signs and doing all the good stuff, all the exciting parts of the fest. That's pretty much it, really.
Okay, any questions for trustee Warren? Moving on to item 2, trustee Brockman, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next meeting will be August 7th here at the Village Hall, 7 o'clock. 3 agenda items presently, Caldwell Banker sign, conditional use permit for an auto repair facility at 301 Earl, and conditional use permit for an indoor baseball training facility at 201 Earl. So we'll have 3 agenda items to look at. And that's my report. Thank you.
101 Earl.
301 Earl for auto repair and 201 Earl for baseball training.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Kirkland, Parks and Recreation.
Thank you. There is still time to register for the last week of summer camp. Check our website for the registration sheet or stop by Suite 102 to register. We had great turnouts for both the July 11th and the July 18th party in the parks. Everyone enjoyed the Lego Movie 2 and also Kashmir, long awaited. The cardboard boat regatta was postponed due to the high temperatures last Saturday. The new date is this Sunday, July 28th. Registration will begin at 1 p.m. and boats will begin racing at 2. If you have your boat finished but can't make the new date, please submit pictures to parks@vil.shorewood.il.us for a chance to win Best Themed Trophy. That's just to give people a chance since we did have to move the date. Coming up, we have July 25th, this Thursday. The Incredibles 2 is our movie in the park. The event starts at 6:30 p.m. and the movie will show once it gets dark. August 6th, we have our National Night Out from 5:30 to 8 p.m. Our Shorewood Police Department will be having a night of family fun, station tours, touch a squad, moon jump, and much more. And it will finish up also with a showing of the movie Wonder, which will begin at dusk. And that completes my report.
Okay. Trustee Luciano, Citizens Advisory Committee.
Citizens Advisory will be meeting again in September of 2019. As always, if anyone's interested in getting involved in the committee, would appreciate it if you would contact myself or any of the members. You can go on the village website under Citizens Advisory to see the contact information for emails. That's all I have.
Okay. Okay, just prior to adjournment, what I'd like to say, people in the booth, they need about 7 minutes between the meetings, so once we adjourn, we'll take 7 minutes, give them a chance to save the tape from this meeting, to start to tape the next meeting. So I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move.
Second.
Okay. Diane, roll call, please.
Kirkland,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Brockman, Warren,
Yes.
and Luciano.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be back